What if the greatest strength is not found in the soft and easy paths we long for, but in the hardest ground we are forced to walk? Every one of us has faced moments where our dreams seemed impossible, where the world's laughter echoed louder than our own hope, where the road ahead looked so daunting we thought of turning back. Perhaps you remember a time when someone told you your dreams and aspirations were foolish, when the mountain before you seemed too high to climb, when you felt alone in the struggle. And maybe, just for a moment, you considered walking away. It is in that very place, when the pressure is greatest and the voices of doubt grow loud, that your true story begins. The world whispers that the easy way is the right way. It promises rewards for speed, comfort, and instant gratification. It makes success look like something that should never require a fight. But what if that is not the truth at all? What if the path of least resistance leads not to greatness, but to mediocrity? What if the very battles that feel like they will break us are in fact the sacred grounds that make us whole? There was once a man named Elias who lived in a dry land where the sun ruled the sky like a tyrant and rain was little more than a fading memory. His garden was unlike the gardens of others. While nearby villagers cultivated soft soil and saw their flowers spring up with ease, Elias's ground was a place of stone, and nothing will ever grow in that place. Their pity was worse than their laughter, because it carried the cruel weight of certainty. To them, his work was not only hopeless, it was foolish. Yet Elias held on to a different truth, one that had been planted deep inside of him by his grandfather long ago. The strongest plants, his grandfather had told him, grow from the hardest ground. These were not just words to Elias. They were a promise, a compass, a lifeline. And so, with little more than a shovel, a watering can, and calloused hands, he returned day after day to the same patch of unforgiving rock. There, in a crack so small it seemed invisible, he had planted a single seed. This was no ordinary seed. It was the kind of seed that carried within it the quiet strength to endure, if only someone would believe in it long enough to keep watering the stone. And so Elias watered, he knelt, he whispered. He spoke to that seed as though it could hear, telling it stories of his grandfather, stories of hope, stories of new life where none seemed possible. His work was not just about a plant. It was about building a testimony. He was not simply waiting for something to grow. He was cultivating a living monument to hope itself. Day after day, the sun hardened his skin, the wind cracked his lips, and still Elias kept going. The laughter of the villagers grew louder with each passing season. Some came with offers of escape. "Leave this place, Elias. Work in our fields. Our flowers bloom quickly. Our soil is soft. Your labor will not be wasted." They spoke with kindness, but beneath their offers was the same quiet dismissal. His way was foolish. His work was meaningless. But Elias, with a tired smile and a patient heart, always gave the same reply. "My harvest," he said softly, "will be different." He knew what they did not. He knew that ease produces beauty without depth, that shallow roots cannot weather storms. He knew that what is built quickly often falls quickly. His work was slower, harder, lonelier, but it was also richer, truer, and destined to endure. The seasons passed, and Elias remained faithful. And then, one morning, as the first light of dawn painted the sky with gold, something stirred in the crack of that stone. A small, defiant sprout had forced its way upward, fragile yet unyielding. It was barely visible, but to Elias it was a miracle. His hands trembled, his eyes filled with tears. He did not shout or run to the village. He simply knelt beside it in quiet reverence. In that tiny sprout, Elias saw the truth of everything he had believed. That struggle was never wasted, that silence was never empty, that faith, had never been in vain. The roots of the plant had gone deep, further than anyone could see, pushing through rock, searching for water, strengthening themselves in secret. And in that hidden work, resilience had been forged. The laughter of the villagers no longer mattered. The doubt of the world no longer carried weight. In the silence of stone, something unbreakable had been born. And here lies the mystery, the revelation that speaks to us even now. What was it about the hard ground that gave the plant such strength? Why do shallow fields yield fragile beauty, while barren stone produces roots that cannot be moved? Perhaps it is because the struggle itself is sacred. Perhaps the very resistance we long to avoid is the tool designed to form in us the strength we need. Just as Elias's plant grew deep roots to survive the harshest ground, so too our struggles carve out resilience within us. Neuroscience tells us that when we face challenge and persist, our brains literally change. New pathways are formed. Courage becomes wired into our being. Every act of perseverance is not wasted. It is etched into us, body and soul. Elias's garden was never just about a flower. It was about becoming. And so it is with us. The projects that nearly break us, the losses that wound us, the lonely nights no one else sees, these are not punishments. They are the chisels carving strength, the fires refining our faith, the very soil from which our deepest purpose grows. So when you face the barren ground, when you feel mocked, when you are tempted to walk away, remember the story of Elias. Remember that the strongest plants grow from the hardest ground. Remember that your roots are being forged in silence and that one day, in a moment, you cannot yet see, your quiet miracle will break through the stone. When the villagers saw the small sprout rising from the stone, some gasped in disbelief. A few scoffed, unwilling to admit they might have been wrong. Others leaned in close, curious, whispering among themselves. But Elias did not turn to them for validation. His eyes were fixed on the miracle before him. He knew that what had begun in secret could not be undone, for the roots had grown too deep, their strength hidden from every mocking gaze. The plant was not fragile like the flowers in the softer fields, which bowed and broke when the winds came. No, this one carried a quiet defiance, a strength born of resistance, a life that owed its very existence to the stone that tried to stop it. The rock had not been its enemy. The rock had been its training ground. Isn't that the way life so often works? We see the obstacles in front of us and think they are there to destroy us. We see the failures, the disappointments, the setbacks, and we cry out for rescue. We beg for softer ground, for an easier path, for a gentler season. And when we do not receive it, we assume we have been forgotten. But what if we have not been abandoned at all? What if the difficulty is not the end of the story, but the very soil in which the miracle is hidden? What if the silence you are walking through right now is not proof of emptiness, but proof that roots are growing where no one can see? Elias's plant did not rise overnight. It wrestled in the dark, pushing, pressing, carving its way down before it could ever lift its face to the sun. And so it is with us. The unseen struggles, the nights you thought you would not survive, the tears you shed when no one was watching, the weight you carried when your shoulders ached from exhaustion, those were the very moments when your roots were being forged. Science itself bears witness to this truth. Studies reveal that trees grown in greenhouses, shielded from the wind, grow quickly but fall easily. Their roots remain shallow, their trunks weak, because they were never tested. Yet those planted in the open, battered by storms, forced to fight for survival, grow roots that run wide and deep. They anchor themselves against every gale. They do not fall because their struggle has made them strong. You and I are no different. Every hardship we endure is writing strength into our souls. Every trial is expanding the reach of our roots. Every delay is preparing us to carry a greater weight of glory than we could imagine. Elias knew this without ever reading a study or a book. He knew it in his bones, in the quiet wisdom passed down through generations, and now his garden was beginning to speak for itself. Yet even then, Elias was not finished. He did not stop watering simply because the sprout had appeared. He did not grow careless because he had proof that his labor was not in vain. No, he pressed on with the same devotion as before, because he understood that beginnings are fragile. He understood that roots must continue to deepen even after the first breakthrough. And so it is with us. Too often we celebrate the first glimpse of victory and forget that we are still being called to perseverance. The miracle may have begun, but it is not yet complete. The flower has not yet bloomed. The fruit has not yet appeared. The work beneath the surface is still being written, and if we grow careless, we risk losing what has only just begun. But hear this truth: your perseverance is never wasted. Every prayer whispered in the silence is heard. Every tear shed in loneliness is counted. Every moment of pressing forward when no one else believes is building something within you that cannot be shaken. The world may see nothing, but heaven sees roots. The world may mock your waiting, but eternity celebrates your faithfulness. And one day when the season is right, what has been hidden will be revealed. The cracks will open, the stone will yield, and the miracle you carried in silence will burst into sight. And in that moment, the same people who once laughed may come to you in wonder, asking how such a thing could be. And you will know the truth. You will know that the stone was never your enemy. It was your ally. You will know that what seemed meant to destroy you was in fact the very thing that made you strong. Perhaps right now you are standing in your own field of stone. Perhaps you feel the weight of mockery, the sting of doubt, the heaviness of a dream that refuses to bloom. You look around and see others moving ahead, their flowers rising quickly, their fields soft and easy, and you wonder if you have been left behind. Let me tell you, you have not. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. While others celebrate quickly, your roots are still stretching deeper, preparing you to stand when storms come. And when your time comes to bloom, it will not be shallow. It will not be fleeting. It will not be fragile. It will be unshakable. So do not despise your stone ground. Do not curse the season you are in. What feels like resistance is training. What feels like silence is growth. What feels like delay is preparation. Like Elias, keep watering. Keep showing up. Keep believing in the seed you have planted, even when no one else does. Because one day, when the time is right, you will see with your own eyes that the stone did not stop you. It shaped you. It did not break you. It built you. And your story, like Elias's, will become a living testimony that whispers to the world, the hardest grounds yield the strongest roots. The world we live in is obsessed with ease. We worship the concept of overnight success and chase pathways of least resistance. We build systems to avoid struggle, to seek comfort, to make every outcome as predictable and effortless as possible. But here is a profound truth we often ignore, a truth whispered by nature itself. In a garden, soft soil and constant water will produce a plant with shallow roots. It might grow quickly and burst with vibrant color in its youth, but the first great storm will tear it from the ground with devastating ease. It is the plant that must fight for its sustenance, the one that must burrow deep into the hard earth, navigating around rocks and seeking out hidden pockets of moisture, that builds a root system capable of withstanding any tempest. This isn't just a metaphor for a plant. It is the very science of the human spirit. Resilience is not a trait you are born with. It is a muscle, forged in the face of adversity. The hard ground that Elias faced was not a barrier to his growth. It was the very force that demanded his plant build an unshakable foundation. Every time a villager laughed, every time the sun beat down on his skin, it sent a message to the roots of that tiny seed. You must go deeper. You must become stronger than your environment. We know this to be true in our own lives. The project that almost broke you, the disappointment that taught you a hard lesson, the quiet loneliness of a journey no one else understands. These are not failures. They are the tools, disguised as trials, sent to force your roots to grow deeper. The pain of the struggle is simply the friction required to build something truly strong. It is the pressure that builds the diamond. It is the cold that hardens the steel. The resistance we face is not an enemy to be avoided. It is the very partner our potential needs to be fully realized. There is a concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity, the brain's incredible ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Your brain is not a static machine. It is a living garden. When you face a challenge and refuse to quit, your brain is physically changing. You are literally building new pathways for courage, for problem solving, for grit. Elias was not just tending a garden. He was performing an act of self-creation. The act of returning to that stone every single morning, day after day, in the face of mockery and doubt. That was an act of faith, yes, but it was also a biological command. It was his body and mind saying, I will find a way. I will not be broken by this. Every whispered story, every drop of water, was a conscious repetition that strengthened a new neural pathway, a pathway of perseverance. He was building his own resilience, one small, consistent action at a time. The hard ground was simply the resistance his spirit needed to get stronger. It was the training ground for his triumph. This isn't just a story from a distant time. The principle of the hard ground is woven into each and every one of us. The greatest men and women in history were forged in fire. Consider Dr. Viktor Frankl, a neurologist and psychiatrist who was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps during the Holocaust. He lost his family, his life's work, and nearly his life. His hard ground was unimaginable suffering. Yet, in that darkness, he discovered that what separated those who survived from those who perished was not physical strength, but the ability to find a deeper purpose, a meaning in their suffering. He endured the unimaginable by focusing on the one thing that could never be taken from him, his freedom to choose his own attitude. His quiet victory in that hard ground became the foundation for his life's work and his groundbreaking book, Man's Search for Meaning. Then there is Nelson Mandela, a man who for 27 years was a political prisoner locked away on Robben Island. His hard ground was the cold stone of his cell, the years of isolation, and the brutal injustice he faced. He could have emerged a broken man, filled with hate. Instead, he chose to forgive, to lead, and to seek reconciliation for an entire nation. His strength wasn't built in the easy years, but forged in the crucible of his prison cell. His roots grown deep in the hard ground of adversity gave him the power to change the world. And so, we arrive at the heart of the matter, the final sacred truth. The story of Elias is not just a parable of perseverance. It is a profound echo of a spiritual reality. For some of us, that hard ground isn't just a metaphor for a difficult situation. It is the very field where a greater plan is unfolding. When the world calls you a fool and laughs at your efforts, remember Elias. His true strength wasn't in his hands, but in his faith. A faith that was rooted in the one who endured the cross and rose again, bringing new life from the most final of places. His example reveals a truth about you. a truth that was placed in you at the very moment of creation. You were not built for convenience. You were not made for an easy life. You were intentionally and divinely built with the persistence and the will to keep going, to endure the trials and the difficulties. You were designed to overcome. Think about the roots of that tiny plant. They grew in darkness, in silence, in the most difficult place imaginable. No one saw their daily fight, but it was in that very fight that they became strong enough to hold up the beautiful flower that would one day stun the world. Your faith is like those roots. It grows deepest not when things are easy, but when they are the hardest. In the quiet, unseen places of your life, when you feel alone and ridiculed, that is where a divine hand is forging your character. That is where a foundation is being built that no storm can ever break. You were meant to be a testament. Elias's story is a mirror to your own journey, a living testimony that what seems impossible to face can reveal our true strength. If Elias, with nothing but a watering can and a heart full of hope, could cultivate a miracle in the stone, then you too can face the impossible. You can grow with grace in the hardest ground. You can endure because you were created to. Finally, remember what the scripture says in Psalm 126, verse 5. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. The most beautiful things in this world are born not from the ground, but from the soul that refuses to give up on its purpose. Before you go, I want to challenge you. Look at the hard grounds in your own life. Identify the challenge that feels impossible, the struggle that makes you want to walk away. What hard ground are you facing right now? Share it in the comments below so we can pray for your strength and faith. If this story spoke to you, let us know with an amen, and like and subscribe for more inspirational content like this.